My name is Leo, and I probably work for the most annoying boss in the world. Julie is the sole heir of a high society family who made their fortune in real estate. Everyone always whispered that the only reason she was the CEO of our company was because her daddy was the owner. And they're right. Julie had no clue what she was doing, and that's why she relied on hiring the best to do the things she couldn't. She had the money, we had the skills. Sounds like a fair exchange, but the thing was, she didn't even pay us enough, and she expected the world from anyone who worked for her. In title, I was a junior executive, but in terms of workload, I was working as the CEO, COO, CFO, and head of sanitation even. Yeah, I had to be the one to tell the janitors how to manage their janitoring. I was the reason the company turned over an impressive profit for the past 3 quarters, and I was still earning the same salary I had when I started there. Meanwhile, Julie got to go on extended holidays and gave herself a massive bonus at the end of every year. She was profiting off of my work, and she treated me like her personal servant. But then I landed the biggest client we had ever landed. I thought I was finally going to get that promotion I'd been waiting for. But once again, Julie took the credit for my achievements. She took over the account and introduced herself to the development company as the one they would be dealing with. I'd had enough. I quit. I ended up getting myself an interview with a rival company and said goodbye to that thankless, terrible job. But when I got to the interview, the receptionist turned me away. I tried again at a different company, and they wouldn't even take one glance at my CV. That happened to every single real estate agency I went to. And then I realized what had happened. Julie had blacklisted me. She gave me no other choice but to come crawling back to her and beg for my old job, which she didn't give to me. As punishment, she made me become her personal assistant. Much lower pay, and even more embarrassingly, I had to serve her hand and foot. I underestimated the power and influence her family had. Not even the McDonald's across the street wanted to hire me as a burger flipper. Your big mistake, Leo, is thinking you could make it out there on your own. You discover you have a little talent and suddenly you grow a big head? Ha! You're nobody. And the best use for you is to support superstars like me. You are nothing without me. You hear? Now repeat it after me. I'm nothing without you. What's that? I'm nothing without you, mistress. Good. Now go fetch my lunch. Julie used me for everything. Washing her car, doing her laundry. One day, she even made me go to a Thanksgiving dinner with her. You have to be my arm candy. All my family will be there, and my sisters and cousins are bringing their impressive husbands with their fancy titles and achievements. Can't you just, I don't know, ask one of your rich friends? And when Julie went silent, I realized she had none. Obviously, you can't go as my assistant, so you'll just have to pretend. I'm gonna tell everyone that you're a noble from some random European country. You own a vineyard and have a thriving chain of stores, okay? It wasn't like I could really say no. So Julie dressed me up in an Armani suit, Italian leather shoes, and a Rolex watch that cost a small fortune. She made me drive a Porsche to the dinner. In exchange for all of this, she told me she'd promote me. Everything was going smoothly. Nobody had any reason to suspect that I was lying the whole time, and Julie was able to brag to everyone that she was dating a successful businessman who had noble lineage. She was winning the unspoken competition of which girl in the family had bagged the biggest fish. While we were all enjoying dessert, Julie's mom made a noise that made us all look up. Nobody else there could see it, but to me, it looked like Julie's mom had been poisoned. Don't ask me how I knew, because it involved an embarrassing admission about how many hours I'd spent watching true crime videos on YouTube, and then subsequently spending even more hours researching the unsolved cases. But people panicked. Someone started dialing 911. But the villa was way up in the mountains, and it could be hours before help arrived. So I stood up, ran to the medicine cabinet, and as luck would have it, they had a whole bottle of activated charcoal. I shouted at the maids to bring me a blender, a clean glass, and some spring water. I worked furiously, mixing in the charcoal with the water. Quickly, tilt her head back. Julie's mom retched as soon as she ingested the entire glass. She was dizzy for a few minutes, but when the paramedics arrived, they wheeled her out of there thanking me for my quick thinking. And I thought you were the doctor in this family. What use are those silly awards you have? When she was released from the hospital and she was fully recovered, Julie's mom called me in for a meeting. I demand that this young man be given a seat at the board. He saved my life, and he needs to be rewarded accordingly. I was named VP of the company, much to Julie's annoyance, but she couldn't really do much given that her mother was the chairman of the board. Julie's sister dumped her husband, and out of nowhere, she started sending me messages about going to lunch. I went, thinking that she just maybe wanted to thank me for saving her mom's life. But at that lunch, Arabella jumped me and kissed me. Hearing about this turn of events, even Julie's mom wanted in on the action. He saved my life. Why are you trying to steal my hero from me, Arabella? Sit down and give Mommy the man she deserves. Julie was not a fan of how I'd somehow ended up attracting her sister and mother. You better stop this. Whatever you're doing, some voodoo stuff or something, I forbid you to see my mom and my sister ever again. You can have any of these cheap girls, but not my family. Get off of me. But she didn't push me away. Her lips just kept getting closer and closer. But before she could kiss me, her sister arrived, followed by their mother. You're such a klutz. Leo, come with me. I want to dance. Nonsense. You can't dance with my date. Leo, come with me. I have a sapphire ring that just arrived from Africa. I want you to tell me if it'll make a nice wedding ring for us. Julie was suddenly in a conundrum. She used to own me, and now she had competition. Her prettier, hotter sister wanted me, and her more stylish, much richer mother wanted to marry me. I think that was the moment Julie realized she'd been in love with me for the longest time. No, he's mine! Suddenly, we were surrounded by tons of girls who also wanted a piece of me. They all grabbed me and started playing tug of war with me as if I was a rope. Chaos broke loose, until finally Julie screamed at the top of her lungs. If you want him, then you'll have to fight for him! Butler, bring me my weapon! I had no idea where she was going with that. Turned out, the women in Julie's family had a strange way of settling disputes. They would stand on opposing tables and swing around these massive cotton bud-looking things. And whoever topples their opponent off the table wins the dispute. We call it the gladiator game. I've won our annual cup since I was 5. They had an entire setup for it. The maids brought out the safety mattresses, and the butler sat on an umpire chair where he took the scores. 2 of the guards even acted as referees. In a series of heats, the women were finally trimmed down to the top 3. And as luck or coincidence or fate would have it, the remaining 3 were Arabella, Julie, and their mom. For the finals, they had the tables moved again, so it was a final battle between the 3 of them. Julie dominated the early game, but as she went on, it looked like she was getting tired, and Arabella almost knocked her off her feet. My heart was racing. It was truly impossible to tell who would win. But suddenly, I found myself wishing Julie would, and I realized she wasn't the only one who was in love. I spent most of my time around her despising her, that I failed to notice that there was another set of feelings that I was developing for her. I had grown fond of her, and now I was silently rooting for her. Arabella swung her staff around in the air, and it caught her mom. And as she swung it again, she hit Julie square in the chest. In that split second of the 2 women falling, I thought of something. Stop! Wait! The cheering stopped, and every girl in there looked at me, holding Julie and her mom in my arms after catching them from their fall. There was only one way of truly solving the dispute. I knew if one of them won, they'd resent each other. So I came up with a better solution. I'm not some sort of trophy. I'm a person. You can't win me in a tournament. If you girls truly want to be with me, how do you expect me to choose either of you if I don't even get the chance to get to know you? And wouldn't you know it, they listened. And that's how I got to date 3 heiresses without even trying.
Please don't forget to share this podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. Thanks for your support. Check out our YouTube channel by clicking the link in this episode description. And also, kindly please rate and review this podcast. Bye.